Great. So let's get started. Welcome everybody to the Bitbond STO, the Bitbond Security Token Offering webinar today. This is a great opportunity for Bitbond to present what kind of innovative and exciting projects we're working on. And we're looking forward to also hear the questions that you will be asking throughout the webinar. The goal is that I will be presenting for about 15 minutes. Give you a good overview of the STO and why we are doing it, and who is Bitbond, the company behind the STO. And after those 15 minutes of presentation, I will be checking what kind of questions came in, and we'll be trying to answer most of the questions that you are having. And of course, also after the webinar, we will be here for you. You can reach us via email, via social media, to answer the questions that might come up. So let's get started. First, I want to give a quick overview about Bitbond and actually what is the company behind the first German security token offering. So Bitbond is a global and the first global small and medium-sized enterprises lending company. That means that we're providing working capital financing to those businesses around the world who typically build the backbone of most economies, but who, however, have a pretty hard time to get the funding they need to grow their business with banks. Bitbond has been up and running since 2013, so we've been live for quite a while now. In fact, we have funded over 3,300 borrowers through our platform already, and we already have a pretty decent track record of providing capital to small and medium-sized enterprises. And Bitbond is in fact the first platform in the SME lending sector that operates globally. We have funded borrowers from over 80 countries. Personally, to me, this is one of the things that I enjoy most about being part of Bitbond. It's the internationality and the fact that we can help support the growth of SMEs, not just in one or two countries. Bitbond itself is located in Berlin in Germany, but also from countries in many distant locations like Kenya, like the Philippines, like Argentina, countries that are geographically far away from Germany, but who have great entrepreneurs who deserve the funding they need in order to run their business. At the same time, Bitbond is a regulated financial institution. We have a license from the German financial regulator BaFin, and we use blockchain for payment processing. Now, what does that mean to use blockchain for payment processing? When I founded Bitbond, one of the challenges that we ran into was how do we get money efficiently from A to B? And the conventional methods like bank transfers didn't really work because they took too long, they were pretty expensive. And so we decided to use cryptocurrencies, back then primarily Bitcoin, for payment processing. Because to send Bitcoin around the world is a lot faster and comes with a lot lower transaction costs than using a wire transfer for that. And brokering loans in general is a regulated financial service. So once we launched, we applied for our license, and it took us 3 years to get the license. But then when we got it, we in fact were, at least in Germany, probably all across Europe, the first blockchain-based company that received their own financial services provider license. So that's Bitbond as a background. And now we want to talk more about the STO and the problems that Bitbond wants to solve. Now, on the one hand, we have the problem that business owners have a hard time to get access to capital. And this is because banks are typically very reluctant to lend to SMEs because the loans are relatively small. However, banks have the same credit process behind it as if they were lending to larger companies, and that's pretty expensive for them. So to banks, these are not really attractive customers. And then if banks decide to lend to these types of customers, they take a long time to make a credit decision. This can easily be 6 to 8 weeks, and this is, in most instances, way too long for the SMEs. They want to have a credit decision ideally yesterday. They want to know whether they can buy the additional inventory, whether they can hire additional staff, whether they can buy durable goods that they need in the production process or in a sales process. And so they need decisions quickly. So that's the problem on the borrower side. Then on the investor side, the problems that we have is that fixed income returns in most markets today are relatively small, and they are still combined with fairly high fees. And the returns that you can get on fixed term deposits in your current account are next to zero. And that's because the interest rate environment, actually since the financial crisis, so now since over 10 years, is so low that on most fixed income related projects, you earn a very, very small yield. The other problem that comes with fixed income investments is that you're often tied to the duration, and it's hard to liquidate these investments, so they are relatively illiquid. The way we're approaching to solve this problem is with the first German security token offering, with the BB1 token. The BB1 token is a bond, and to you as an investor represents a fixed income investment. And we're tokenizing the business loans that we facilitate on the Bitbond platform through the BB1 token. And that means that investors now get the great opportunity to get access to SME loans, which typically have a significantly higher yield than other fixed income investments. And at the same time, doing that in a very advantageous way from an investor's perspective. 2 or 3 more sentences about the business model of Bitbond. So we're facilitating the loans between investors and borrowers. The borrowers would typically apply for a loan through our platform. Then we do the credit check. So we normally would look into their bank account history to analyze the cash flow of the business and to get an understanding of how likely is an applicant to repay the loan on time, and what is the amount that they can borrow given the revenue and the business capacity that they have. And when they get the loan funded through our platform, then it gets paid out to their bank account or to their mobile money account or to their mobile wallet. And then they repay this loan through the platform, and the money gets repaid to the investors. And we as Bitbond, we take 2 types of fees. We get one fee from the borrower, which we call an origination fee, and we get a loan servicing fee from the investor. So that's how the business model of Bitbond works. As I mentioned, Bitbond was founded in 2013, and so we have built up a good traction of our SME lending business. In fact, until today, we have originated over $15 million worth of loans. So this means that we have already calibrated our credit model very well, and that we have a lot of experience in running this business. We have a lot of experience in the loan servicing, and the dunning. So all the steps in the value chain that are related to the lending business, we have a lot of experience with by now. Now, if you look at the underlying loans on the Bitbond platform, these will be the same loans that are also the underlying assets in the token offering. And so this is very important to understand. When you invest in the Bitbond STO, in the BB1 token, then essentially you are investing in a diversified portfolio of SME loans. And so these SME loans are highly interesting and very attractive assets because they have a relatively short duration. We offer loan terms from 3 months over 6 months to 12 months, and they are installment loans, meaning that every month the borrower is paying an equal annuity of principal and interest. That means that the money is coming back relatively quickly from these loans. The other advantage is that these loans are relatively small. They go up to $50,000 in value, and from the proceeds that we raise in the STO, we build a highly diversified portfolio. So it's not just a portfolio of 5 or 10 loans, but there will be hundreds of loans in the portfolio, which means that the diversification kicks in very quickly from these investments. And diversification is highly important because just like in any lending business, there are defaults. However, when you have a diversified portfolio, then the good loans in the portfolio and the interest that is being paid on those good loans is by far making up for the losses from from the defaults. And in general, the lending operation has a target return of around about 8 to 10% per year. And so as a token holder, this is the yield that you're participating in. One other thing that's really important is also how Bitbond differentiates itself from potential competitors. One thing that's really important about the offering and about the lending that we do is that we make credit decisions very quickly. While banks may take up to 8 weeks to make a credit decision, also some other online lenders which have a relatively manual approach to credit underwriting take a couple of days. At Bitbond, we can be as quick as 30 minutes if all the data that we ask the borrower for is present. And normally within 24 hours, we have made a credit decision. And last but not least, the fact that we're using blockchain today, primarily the Stellar blockchain for payment processing, allows us to leverage the low transaction fees and the high transaction speed, and therefore reducing the entire cost of the loan. So all of these things are what makes Bitbond special as a lending platform. And these are also the factors that you as a token holder, when you invest into the Bitbond token, you will be benefiting from, because you are earning the returns that these loans are generating in the lending business. So in summary, what are the main reasons to be investing into the Bitbond token? Well, first of all, you can earn much higher returns than from most other fixed income investment products. The target return for the investors into the BB1 token is around about 8%. And the 8% come from two components. One is a fixed interest that we pay on a quarterly basis, which is 4% per year. And then there is a variable component, which is 60% of the profits that we're making with the lending business. And so there, the target is around about 3 to 4%, which ends up with a total target return to you as a token investor of around about 7 to 8%. And if you compare that to other fixed income investments, to high yield bonds, this is at least 1 to 2 percentage points more than you can normally get in the market right now. And the second point is to diversify your portfolio. I'm sure that many of you who are in this webinar today own cryptocurrency, own Bitcoin, for example, own Ether and other cryptocurrencies. Cryptocurrencies are great investments with a very unique risk and return profile. However, conventional wisdom in investing says that you should have a diversified portfolio of high risk, high return assets and lower risk and lower return assets. And the Bitbond token aims to be exactly that, an investment that produces fairly stable returns of these 7 to 8% and has a much smaller risk than, for example, a cryptocurrency investment, where if you go into the more exotic coins, into some of the altcoins, the value could drop to zero at any time. And so diversifying that and building a portfolio of stable returns with lower risk is something that, from an investment standpoint, we believe makes a lot of sense. And most experienced investors do exactly that. They have a combination of higher risk, higher yield assets and lower risk and lower yield assets. And the third component that's very important is that the Bitbond token, first of all, provides access to the SME loans. And at the same time, it's a very liquid asset. We are about to announce an exchange listing with the Bitbond token. And at the same time, also, the Bitbond token is tradable through the Stellar decentralized exchange. And that's because the Bitbond token is being issued on top of the Stellar protocol. And the Stellar protocol has one great feature. I mean, there's a lot of great features about Stellar, but one of these is that you can trade any asset that's been issued on top of Stellar through the Stellar decentralized exchange, the DEX. And the same is true for the Bitbond token. So there will be instant liquidity in this product once it has been disbursed to investors. Those are the main things that we wanted to present to you about the Bitbond STO today. Thank you for watching so far. One thing that we also want to share with you is a discount code that lets you earn 3% more tokens from your investment. And this code is BB1 STO. So remember that, BB1 STO, when you sign up and you go to bitbondsto.com and you want to register as an investor for the BB1 token, then at some point where you confirm the investment, it will ask you for a discount code. And the 3% discount code is BB1 STO. And we recommend you to remember that and to put that in as you invest, because you will get 3% more tokens than if you were not using the discount code. Great, so these are the main facts that we wanted to present to you in the webinar today. And now we will be checking what kind of questions came in throughout the webinar, and we'll be trying to go through these questions. So the first question that we're seeing here is, please elaborate the process for investors who want to buy a Bitbond, including money transfer, wallet required, possible currency risk for all parties involved. So this is a great question, has a lot of aspects in it. So in terms of the process, what you really need to do is you need to go to bitbondsto.com and create an investor account. Once you've done that, we need to ask you for KYC, so know your customer information. Once you've provided that, we will ask you how much do you want to invest and with what payment method do you want to pay. So this is also one part of the question, and it's a very good question. So we offer 4 payment methods. First of all, you can pay through a bank transfer. So we show you bank account details and you can transfer money from your bank account. And then we offer 3 types of cryptocurrency payments. You can pay with Bitcoin, you can pay with Ether, and you can pay with Stellar Lumens. So it's up to you. You can decide between any of these payment methods. And once you have confirmed your investment, you will display the payment details. So if you chose Bitcoin, for example, we will show you the BTC address. If you have chosen bank transfer, we'll show you the bank details where to wire the money to. Once your payment has come in, you will receive an email confirmation and a confirmation of how many tokens you have purchased. Then when the STO concludes, we will give you access to your tokens, and this will happen in a way that you will need to log your account on Bitbond STO, and you will receive a public-private key pair for Stellar. You can simply store that key pair as securely as possible on your computer. At the same time, you can also import it into any Stellar wallet. Any Stellar wallet has the functionality that allows you to import a public-private key pair, and then immediately you will see your balance in that wallet of how many BB1 tokens you own. And so we will also be showing which Stellar wallets work very well in our experience, but in general, any wallet that you choose will be working with this. Sorry, there was one last part about this question, and that's possible currency risk. So there's 2 things to say about this. The BB1 token is euro denominated. Each token has a face value of €1, and the face value will stay. At €1, we are issuing the token, and after 10 years, we're buying the token back for €1. Because it's a bond, it has a fixed lifetime of 10 years, and after that, we will be buying it back. Throughout the lifetime of the token, you will be earning a kind of a passive income, and that's the interest payments that we're paying on that token. And you will be receiving these into your Stellar address, and we are paying them in Stellar Lumens. Stellar Lumens is a native currency on top of the Stellar protocol, so it's super flexible. Everybody who owns assets on top of Stellar can accept Stellar payments. And so what happens is that, let's assume you buy 1,000 tokens for €1,000. Your quarterly interest is 1%, which we pay out 4 times per year. So 1% on 1,000 is €10. And so you'll be receiving €10 in Stellar Lumens into your wallet. That happens in a completely automated way. You don't need to do anything. It will just arrive in your account. And then what you need to do is you need to make a decision whether you want to hold this interest payment in Stellar Lumens, or whether you want to convert it into euros or into other currencies in order to make sure that you lock in the euro denominated value. But that's up to you as an investor. Great, let's move to the next question. Are you open to white labeling out your project? In other words, can I use your infrastructure under my label in the US? So, very interesting question. And in fact, we've been getting this question a lot of times. And the short answer to this is yes. So we've been approached by a lot of companies who were saying, well, the Bitbond STO is such an innovative project. The investment process is so well designed. Can we pay you a fee and use that? The short answer is yes. Reach out to me, reach out to any other team members, and we'll be more than happy to assist you with using our platform for your token offering. Next question. Loans will be only for companies, or do you plan in the future to add individuals to become a borrower as well? Plus, how can you make sure the company can repay the loan? What will happen if they cannot repay, for example, in an unforeseen bankruptcy? So first of all, Bitbond has been started as a business lending platform, and at least for the foreseeable future, we will stick to being a business lender. And one of the main reasons for that is that the credit scoring that we have set up, which we have developed ourselves and which we have put a lot of resources into becoming a very strong lender with a very high predictive accuracy, is where we are experts in. And we right now want to continue focusing on business lending because that's what we're really good at, and that's where we see a lot of potential to develop Bitbond as a company. Therefore, for the time being, we don't plan to go into consumer lending. However, it's hard to predict what happens in 2 to 3 years. At some point, we may expand into other types of financings, and this may, at some point in the future, also include consumer lending. Now, how do we make sure that the borrowers are repaying the loans? We have a very sophisticated collections process. And obviously, since we've already originated $15 million worth of loans, we have a lot of experience with the entire process from credit to loan servicing to collections. In short, what we do is when someone is not making their payments on time, first we get in touch with the borrower, trying to understand the situation, trying to negotiate an alternative repayment plan. If all of that fails and the borrower defaults, which we define as no payment for 90 days or more, in that case, we start legal collection measures and ultimately would bring the case to court. And these measures are very effective to those people who have the ability to pay, to those people who have not the ability to pay, who are bankrupt, for example, as you mentioned. We go into a long-term collections process. So if the business owner recovers or starts a new business that turns out to be more successful, then we still have the legal claim towards that borrower. Among other things, because there's a personal liability, and in that case, we collect long-term. And so far, we have had great success in recoveries due to all these measures that we're applying. And we're effectively using all the legal measures that allow to collect debt. Okay, next question. So the BB1 token will be fixed at €1. Will Stellar lumens also be fixed at a certain price? So what we're doing is when we pay out the interest payments, we are paying them out in Stellar lumens, and we are paying out a euro denominated value. So if I come back to the example that I was just giving, someone buys BB1 tokens worth €1,000, which means that they're entitled to an interest payment of 1% every 3 months. And again, 1% on €1,000 is €10. Then we are sending Stellar lumens that at the time of the transfer are exactly worth €10. No matter what's the nominal lumens amount behind that, we are sending a value that's worth €10. And so from one interest payment to another, it's 3 months. Of course, the lumens price is very likely to change. The €10 is what stays fixed. So we're not changing the euro value. The amount of lumens that we send fluctuates along with the exchange rate of lumens. But it's always the €10 that we send. And then again, it's on the investor whether they convert the lumens into a more stable currency or whether they want to hold on to the lumens. Next question. I'm aware that the investment contract runs for 10 years. Before this 10-year period elapses, is it possible to invest more? So the BB1 token offering is a real security. And that's actually one of the great features about this, is that since it's a real security, there is a prospectus that defines all the rights and obligations of investors. And these are things that we are legally obligated to stick to, and we cannot simply change these facts that we have written in great detail into the prospectus. The cool thing for you as an investor about that is that you can really rely on the things that we've put in there that we'll have to stick to, because we are legally obliged to do that. And one of the things that we've put into the prospectus is that the offer period until when people can invest goes until the 8th of July. And this means that after that, we are not able to accept any further investment. However, that being said, the first token offering that we run is called the BB1 token. And we call it BB1 because we plan to do a BB2, BB3, and so on and so forth in the future. Therefore, if you invest now and you like the investment because we're sticking to our payment obligations, you're receiving your quarterly interest, and you think, well, I want to invest more into this type of instrument, I like the return profile, I like Bitbond as a company, then probably in a couple of months from now or in a year from now, we'll be issuing another security token, which will then probably be the BB2 token. And this will also give existing investors to invest again. And so this is what we're planning to do, and this will be the way for you to increase your investment towards Bitbond. Next question. What are the exchange risks for the borrowers? I think we've mostly covered that. So again, it's euro denominated, and you will need to manage the stellar lumens that you will be receiving. Next question. What are the defaults so far since the start of the business? So when we started Bitbond, we started out with a as you call it in the lending business, a scorecard that was done based on, I would say, best practices in the lending industry. And this means that when a borrower applied at Bitbond, we were collecting certain data about them and we were assigning a credit score to them. However, it was only done on best practices and it was not backed up by any data. So when we started Bitbond, the data that we had to underpin the opinions that we had on certain credit risks were relatively, not data driven. Over the course of the years, since we have issued over $15 million worth of loans, we have started to backtest our assumptions and to calibrate our credit model. And this means that we have managed to bring the default rates down quite significantly. Right now, we operate with a default rate of around about 10%, which is a very sustainable value because we are operating with a target return of around about 8 to 10%. And the way we achieve that is that the nominal interest rates on average are around about 23 to 25% on Bitbond. So when you deduct the default rate from that, that's how you arrive at around about 8 to 10% effective return. And so 2 or 3 years back, our credit model was still relatively volatile. It already worked, but it was relatively volatile. Today, we have a very high predictive accuracy in the default probabilities, and therefore also the returns are a lot more stable today than they were a couple of years before. Next question. Who would I invest? Why would I invest in the STO instead of lending to a business on the Bitbond platform directly? What would be my advantage as an investor besides the quarterly dividend? So first of all, as an individual investor, it's not possible to invest via Bitbond anymore because we now offer the BB1 token as the preferred product for retail investors on our platform. Institutional investors can still invest through Bitbond, but even for them, we believe that the BB1 token is the better way to go. And I'm more than happy to tell you why we believe this is so. One of the main reasons is that the BB1 token is a managed investment, which means when you invest into the Bitbond token, you do a one-time investment, and then either you hold the BB1 token until its maturity, or you sell it earlier in the secondary market through one of the exchanges that will be listing the BB1 token. And that's all you need to do. When you invest as an individual or as an institutional investor, you need to manage your own loan portfolio, which means that you need to look at the portfolio almost on a daily basis. Because as I mentioned, the loans that we facilitate through the Bitbond platform are installment loans. That means that every month there are repayments coming in from the borrowers, and you need to proactively manage either the withdrawals and then reinvesting into other assets, or you get the investments back and then invest into new loans. And this is something where the investors into the token don't need to do that. So we take it over from them. Then one other great advantage is that you are investing into a real security. When you hold a directly invested loan portfolio, you need to wait until each and every loan in that portfolio matures until you can liquidate your investment. The loans themselves are illiquid investments. However, what's liquid is the BB1 token because it's a real security. So let's assume you decide today you want to participate in the token offering, you invest into it, and then after 2 years, you find out, well, I would like to sell it, I would like to readjust my portfolio and the assets that I have in my investment portfolio in general. Then you are perfectly fine to do that from one day to the other. You go to one of the exchanges where the BB1 token is listed, and you can sell part of it or your entire holding. This is something that's far, far more difficult with a loan portfolio because it's illiquid. Got a lot of great questions today. The next one that's coming up is, are you giving BB1 security tokens as part of a bounty program? We've launched a bounty program to work very closely with the crypto community. And you can learn about that bounty program when you go, for example, on Bitcoin Talk or on our blog, and you look for the Bitbond security token bounty program. And as part of that bounty program, we are rewarding bounty hunters for certain activities. And the reward is being paid in BB1 tokens. And so in that process, we are using BB1 tokens as a payment method. However, what's important and the way we can do that is that these are not tokens that are being issued in the primary market, as it's called, because the bounty hunters are not buying the tokens, but they are receiving them as a reward. And so the way it works is that we as an issuer buy the BB1 tokens, and then out of those that we own ourselves, we distribute them to the bounty hunters. So now it's time to say thank you very much for being part of our webinar and for asking these great questions. I've seen that there's a lot more questions. Unfortunately, we didn't have the time to go through all of these. However, we are more than happy to answer them via email, to answer them on social media, and to come back to you on these questions. And we're really looking forward to welcoming you as investors in the first German security token offering and the BB1 token. Thank you very much.